This oppressive force was enough to make everyone who felt it turn pale in shock and terror. The pressure of Ancient Path Mountain came from none other than the Ancient Path Grand Heavenly Venerable, the strongest cultivator of the immortal firmament continent. Yet now, the power radiating from within Wang Lin's body was on par with that of Ancient Path Mountain itself. The implications of this were enough to leave one horrified. As those two words echoed like thunder, Ancient Path Mountain shook violently, dust filling the air as if the entire mountain were about to collapse. Before Wang Lin, the two gray-robed figures overlapped into a single punch. Around that fist, a gray mist formed into a head, which let out a piercing scream 3 zhang away from Wang Lin. That head was instantly swept away as if by a violent storm, dispersing into nothingness at a speed visible to the naked eye. At the same time, the combined fist of the two gray-robed men shattered, flesh and bone exploding apart. Caught in the backlash, their figures were flung backward. Midair, they separated back into two, blood spraying from their mouths, their previously calm expressions twisting into disbelief. Even after spitting blood, they couldn't stop retreating, forced back 1,000 zhang by Wang Lin's single roar. Under the thunderous tremor of Ancient Path Mountain, from the tower at its peak, a giant black hand suddenly manifested. Swelling with the wind, it instantly expanded to nearly 100 zhang, like a black 5-fingered mountain, crashing down toward Wang Lin. That 5-fingered mountain clashed head-on with the oppressive power born from Wang Lin's body, a force neither wholly immortal nor ancient, circulating within him. In the heavens and earth above Ancient Path Mountain, the two powers collided. From behind, Xianluo gasped sharply as he witnessed it all. Within the tower, after a long silence, a cold, detached voice echoed. "Come up. I shall awaken your soul blood." Pale-faced, standing on the 300th step, Wang Lin said nothing. He simply lifted his foot and stepped onto the 301st step. The instant it landed, the drop of soul blood within him melted away, disappearing into his body and fusing seamlessly with him. He no longer needed the hand of the Ancient Path Grand Heavenly Venerable, the soul blood had already merged perfectly into him, and the bloodline heritage within began to reveal itself. Silent, Wang Lin clasped his fists toward the mountain's peak in a deep bow. "My thanks to the Ancient Path Grand Heavenly Venerable." Wang Lin was not reckless. The gap between him and the Ancient Path Grand Heavenly Venerable was immense. Though the Grand Heavenly Venerable had spoken of the 300 steps as his path of departure, Wang Lin still concealed his resentment and offered a respectful farewell. Besides, it was indeed under that overwhelming pressure that his immortal and ancient fusion had stirred within him. Perhaps it was coincidence, or perhaps it was tacit approval from the Ancient Path Grand Heavenly Venerable. Either way, Wang Lin understood. As the strongest on the immortal firmament continent, the Ancient Path Grand Heavenly Venerable deserved his bow. "Rest assured. I said if you reached the 300th step, I would let you leave. Now that you've done so, descend the mountain." After a long pause, the cold voice finally spoke again. It carried the weight of contemplation, as if the Ancient Path Grand Heavenly Venerable had been lost in thought. Wang Lin did not respond. He turned and walked down the mountain. Passing by Xianluo, he noticed the faint ripples of power retreating from his master's body, clear evidence that if the Grand Heavenly Venerable had gone back on his word, Xianluo would have acted. "Master," Wang Lin whispered softly. That single gesture warmed the cracks in his heart left by the rift with the Gu clan. "Let's go." Xianluo gave Wang Lin a long, steady look, burying his shock at the earlier display of the 8 melodies in 2 phases. With a sweep of his sleeve, he carried Wang Lin away in a streak of rainbow light across the skies. Only after the two vanished into the horizon did the 2 injured gray-robed men return to their stone pillars. Casting a complex glance into the distance, they closed their eyes and resumed meditation. A long while later, a sigh drifted from within the tower. At the very top, in the shrouding mist, a figure rose. Cloaked in fog, he walked to the window and gazed outward, his eyes fixed far into the distance, where Xianluo and Wang Lin had departed. Days later, Xianluo brought Wang Lin back to the ancient Dao Imperial City, the seat of the Dao ancient lineage. Behind the ancient Dao Palace, Wang Lin settled into the wooden cabin, living there quietly for a long time. Neither master nor disciple spoke of the events on Ancient Path Mountain. Wang Lin offered no explanation, and Xianluo never asked. It was as though it had never happened, hidden away in silence. And as a month passed, it gradually faded into nothingness, like smoke dispersing into the wind. For this past month, Wang Lin had remained in seclusion within the wooden cabin, sitting in meditation. On his journey to Ancient Path Mountain, he had visited many places, absorbing vast amounts of origin sources. His primordial force grew considerably, and his cultivation advanced even further. Within him, the origin source and the ancient clan power gradually returned to their original positions. The origin source still condensed into his true form, while the ancient clan power manifested as 27 stars between his brows and eyes. Though it appeared ordinary, only Wang Lin knew the truth. With a mere thought, he could momentarily fuse immortal and ancient power, unleashing a burst of strength. The oppressive might of that power could rival Ancient Path Mountain itself. As his origin cultivation and ancient clan power continued to grow, such fusion would last longer and strike with even greater force. One day, when he could achieve complete fusion, not just fleeting bursts, he would possess power equal to that of the Ancient Path Grand Heavenly Venerable. At present, a strand of fused immortal ancient power still rotated slowly within his body, requiring a long time to complete a single cycle. On this day, Wang Lin opened his eyes from breathing exercises. His gaze flickered as he lifted his right hand, producing a small cylinder. After a moment's thought, he suddenly opened it. Inside was a small amount of liquid, radiating pure wood origin power. Drawing out a single drop, Wang Lin merged it into his body. Instantly, the liquid dissolved, and the wood origin within him surged wildly, increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. 3 days later, when he absorbed another drop, his wood origin quickly advanced toward the level of a true form. Half a month passed. After he had absorbed every last drop from the cylinder, Wang Lin's meditating body manifested a shadowy double. A flash of light appeared, and his 5 elements avatar emerged, standing before him. The 5 elements avatar looked calm, its body radiating a colorless brilliance. The lights representing wood and metal origin were dimmer than the other 3, yet the wood glow grew brighter and brighter. Days later, it flared brilliantly, reaching the same intensity as water, fire, and earth. With a tremor, the 5 elements avatar divided into 4 figures and a golden cluster of light. Among them were the true forms of water, fire, and earth, and now, also the wood origin true form. At the center, the golden light cluster represented metal origin, though it had not yet condensed into a true form. Wang Lin opened his eyes, staring at the golden cluster with hesitation. After a pause, resolve flashed in his eyes. Raising his hand, he produced a golden shard. It was a fragment of the Immortal Extreme Sword, an item he had obtained on the long street of the Immortal clan's ancestral city. He had refined it before, but never fully fused it. Now, combined with the metal origin power he had gathered these past months under Xianluo's guidance, he would bind them together to assault the final completion of the 5 elements avatar. If the metal origin also formed a true form, the power of the 5 elements avatar would increase tremendously, verifying the deductions he had made by the vast sea before coming to the ancient clan. The 5 elements avatar, once perfected, if my cultivation rises, then my deduction proves true. Without further hesitation, Wang Lin exhaled a golden mist, wrapping it around the Immortal Extreme Sword fragment and the golden cluster of metal origin. Time passed swiftly. Another month slipped by. Since Wang Lin and Xianluo's return to the ancient Dao Imperial City, 2.5 months had passed. During this time, Wang Lin had not stepped outside the wooden cabin even once. Xianluo had visited twice, pausing outside to observe. Realizing Wang Lin was condensing origin and not in danger, he left each time. One morning, as the first rays of sunlight lifted the black veil of night and warmed the Peach Blossom Valley, a jade slip shot forth from the direction of the ancient Dao Palace. It circled above the cabin a few times before falling onto the grass outside. Moments later, it trembled and transformed into a rainbow streak, flying into the cabin. Wang Lin, sitting cross-legged in calm composure, caught it between 2 fingers. Sweeping it with his divine sense, he found it to be a message slip, carrying only a few words, an invitation. Daogu Imperial Venerable will hold the Empress enthronement ceremony 10 days from now. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged as he withdrew his divine sense. The jade slip, sent from the Daogu Imperial Palace, was an invitation for him to attend the ceremony. For this message to reach me, it must already have my master's approval. That suggests this ceremony holds great importance for the Dao ancient lineage. His eyes flickered with thought. After centuries of choosing, the Daogu Imperial Venerable has finally decided on a consort, to be enshrined as the Empress. Should I go? Or should I not? Yet at this moment, Wang Lin was at the crucial stage of fusing metal origin. He had no interest in attending such an Empress enthronement ceremony. The primordial metal true form should be able to condense in the next few days. Once all 5 elements fully manifest and merge into one, I can verify whether my earlier deductions and calculations were correct. Wang Lin's eyes flickered with hesitation. A faint worry lingered in his heart. If, after achieving the complete 5 elements true form, his cultivation remained stuck in the late void tribulation stage, it would mean his divinations had failed. If that happened, he would have to abandon the current path of condensing the other origin sources into their true forms and instead comprehend the 4th origin, the elusive void origin, through insight into life and death, cause and effect, and the truth and falsehood origin. But the void origin was nothing but a blur, dependent entirely on fate and sudden enlightenment. Perhaps it could be grasped in a few years, or perhaps even after 1,000 it would remain beyond reach. This thought left Wang Lin silently staring at the glowing sphere before him, shrouded in golden mist, expectation gradually overtaking his hesitation. After a long while he exhaled softly and withdrew his gaze from the golden haze. He had done everything within his power. In a few days he would know whether his cultivation could advance. His eyes half closed in contemplation. After a brief pause, he flicked his wide sleeve. Light flared on the wooden cabin's floor, forming a formation that rotated slowly and soundlessly, no glimmer leaking beyond its boundary. He stepped forward and entered the formation, his figure vanishing instantly. Far beneath the formation, 10,000 feet below the cabin, a vast cave mansion had been carved out of the earth. Newly created on the 5th day of his secluded meditation, it stretched for hundreds of feet. Black and white radiance filled the space, and at its center floated a colossal black and white sun. Though only a silhouette, it was unmistakably Wang Lin's own grand heavenly venerable sun. Beneath that sun rested a massive head, 10 feet across, eyeless and earless, a deep fissure splitting the crown of its skull. This was the Immortal-Ancestor head. Around the cavern, Wang Lin had laid countless layers of formations and restrictions. With his current cultivation their power was immense. Not even a transcendent heavenly venerable could sense them, and even a grand heavenly venerable would find them difficult to detect, for the forces binding this place were drawn from Wang Lin's own fusion power, neither purely immortal nor purely ancient, woven directly into the seals to create such formidable strength. Wang Lin appeared beside the Immortal-Ancestor head, his expression calm. He had carved out this place solely to nourish his grand heavenly venerable Sunday. According to his analysis, if that sun could completely melt and absorb the Immortal-Ancestor head, it would become whole and solid. He sat cross-legged before the head and exhaled a wisp of azure mist. The mist streamed into the skull's 7 orifices. The Immortal-Ancestor head shuddered violently, releasing a flood of golden light that was immediately devoured by the grand heavenly venerable sun above, transforming into black and white brilliance to feed it. For nearly 3 months the sun had been absorbing this power, yet the Immortal-Ancestor head was far from easy to refine, full fusion remained a distant goal. After a long pause, Wang Lin opened his eyes. Raising his right hand, he clenched the air. Dark gold light flared in his palm, revealing a frail soul body with closed eyes, held tightly in his grasp. His face stayed composed, but his pupils contracted, a grave light within them. That weakened soul was none other than the immortal Emperor Lian Daoxuan. Captured earlier, the immortal Emperor's spirit now trembled in misery, trying to open its eyes but lacking the strength. Yet from it swirled a staggering immortal aura, and beneath that aura pulsed a pressure unmistakable to any expert, the might of a grand heavenly venerable. Still, despite carrying that venerable pressure, the immortal aura itself was far from pure. It was mottled and dim, tinged with decay, as though the soul endured immense agony behind those closed lids. "What powerful curse art," Wang Lin murmured. Seals layered by his own cultivation bound the immortal emperor's soul, yet even with his power and the soul's own strength, he could not expel the curse. He could only maintain a fragile balance to keep the spirit from dissipating. I had planned to use this soul's oppressive force to forcibly merge the Immortal-Ancient power within my body. But it seems that is no longer necessary. Still, this soul is the immortal emperor, it will be of great use to me. Wang Lin's gaze lingered thoughtfully on the grand heavenly venerable sun before him. Unfortunately, the power of the curse art on it is too strong. If I could expel it, perhaps I could fuse this person's soul into my heavenly venerable Sunday. With his soul as the catalyst, I should be able to forcefully absorb that immortal ancestor's head. Wang Lin stroked his chin with his left hand and, after pondering for a moment, his eyes flashed. He made a hand gesture and pointed a finger at the immortal emperor's soul that was being gripped by his right hand. The moment his finger landed, the immortal emperor's soul trembled, its mouth opening in a silent scream, shaking the surroundings. The restrictions of the cave mansion immediately flickered to life. Wang Lin's expression turned grave as he pressed his left hand onto the immortal emperor's soul. After a long while, he slowly lifted his hand, and a wisp of gray mist was drawn out from within the soul, transforming into a long thread that Wang Lin carefully pulled out. When his left hand was fully raised, the gray thread coiled around the tip of his finger, suddenly shifting into a ghostly gray apparition. The apparition opened its bloody maw, charging straight for Wang Lin's finger to devour it. However, the instant it lunged to consume him, Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. His pupils turned silver, and with a flash of silver light, his gaze struck the evil spirit. The apparition trembled in fear, its form shrinking by more than half before Wang Lin's left hand grabbed it and crushed it fiercely. The gray mist vanished without a trace. Sweat beaded on Wang Lin's forehead. His silver eyes dimmed, and a bitter smile appeared on his face. The short-lived fusion of Immortal and Ancient can disperse this curse art, but with my current cultivation, I can't hold it for long. It's impossible to expel all of the curse art at once. Wang Lin glanced at the immortal emperor's soul in his right hand. The curse art power inside the soul had been partially drawn out earlier, but now it was regenerating. He sighed lightly, flipping his right hand, and the immortal emperor's soul was tucked away. Wang Lin sat there in deep thought for a long while before sighing again. It seems I'll have to wait until my cultivation is higher, allowing for a longer fusion time and greater power, before I can expel this curse art from his soul and merge it into my heavenly venerable Sunday. Moreover, this technique is mysterious, and with the immortal emperor's special status, it's not convenient to seek help from Master Xian Luo. Wang Lin had some hidden matters he didn't want anyone to know, unless absolutely necessary. After storing the immortal emperor's soul, Wang Lin waved his right hand through the air, and a jade slip appeared. This jade slip had been given to him by Crown Prince Jidu and contained the power of the ancient ancestor's single finger. Though Wang Lin had examined the jade slip before, he couldn't decipher it. There always seemed to be an invisible barrier preventing him from understanding it clearly. He had only been able to use it as a one-time divine technique. However, after merging the drop of soul blood within his body, his mind now contained fragmented memories. These memories were jumbled, he could sense their presence but couldn't sift through them, likely because there was so little soul blood remaining. Holding the jade slip, Wang Lin focused intently. Within it, a blurry figure appeared. The figure's body swayed, as if it existed in a similarly vague world. As the figure swayed, that world shattered and vanished. It was a simple illusion, but due to its fuzziness, it was hard to comprehend. Wang Lin had seen this several times before, and it was still the same. But he wasn't discouraged. He closed his eyes, remained silent for a long time, and suddenly opened them wide. Silver light once again filled his eyes. The silver light consumed his pupils entirely, radiating cold and indifferent energy. With this silver gaze, Wang Lin looked once again at the jade slip in his hand. The moment his gaze fell on it, a blurry figure emerged. As this figure appeared, fragments of memory that had been fused after merging with the soul blood suddenly connected within Wang Lin's mind. A few pieces came together, presenting themselves before his consciousness. It was a man dressed in gray robes, his long hair flowing. His face clearly resembled the statue within the Ancient imperial city, the ancient ancestor. With his left hand behind his back, the man floated in the air, gazing up at the sky with a look of disdain and arrogance. His gaze locked onto a group of small black dots approaching, which, upon closer inspection, turned out to be a pack of strange, vicious beasts. These beasts had human heads but lion bodies, and they had only 2 limbs. Both their hind legs and tails had transformed into fish-like tails. As they flew toward him, they let out piercing howls. The strongest among them, clearly the leader, radiated an aura close to that of a heavenly venerable, though still a little weaker. But the gray-robed man still looked on with disdain. He raised his right hand and pointed toward the beasts. With that finger, the heavens and earth shook, and the space surrounding the beasts within 100,000 miles was suddenly divided. The sky and the ground pressed down violently. Booming sounds echoed, and the separated heavens and earth compressed, causing all the vicious beasts to shatter into nothingness. With a sharp crack, the jade slip in Wang Lin's hand split in 2. It slipped from his fingers, shattered against the ground, and crumbled into dust. Wang Lin snapped awake. The silver light faded from his eyes, yet within them still glimmered a sharp brilliance. What power! Just 1 finger of the ancient ancestor. He murmured as he recalled that overwhelming force. Tearing apart heaven and earth with a single press of the finger, collapsing space itself under its crushing weight. Those savage beasts were nothing more than collateral in its path. Lifting his right hand, Wang Lin stared at his own finger and slowly pressed forward. Yet his movement was painfully sluggish, as though layer upon layer of invisible barriers blocked him, preventing him from striking out as the ancient ancestor had. After a while, he withdrew his hand, no longer forcing it. His head lowered, his expression deep in thought. From this art alone, it's clear, the ancient ancestor's strength has already stepped into another realm. Still, with the memory fragments in my mind, and the Godspeed art at my disposal, I can at least attempt a crude imitation. His gaze fell upon the powdered remnants of the jade slip. He closed his eyes. Within his body churned a myriad of chaotic essence spirits, harvested during his slaughter in the Immortal clan's ancestral city. For some time he had been silently refining them, and now they had nearly merged into completion. Soon, he could open yet another divine bloodline. I have 5 divine bloodlines. With a single move, I can leave behind 99 afterimages. If I forge a 6th, what will it become? The Godspeed art unfolded within him as he began condensing his 6th heavenly divine bloodline. 7 days passed. Now, only 3 days remained before the Empress enthronement ceremony of the Immortal Emperor. All of ancient Dao Imperial City thrummed with festivity. Streets and alleys were adorned with ornate decorations placed by envoys of the Imperial Palace. At night, the city blazed with light, never succumbing to darkness, its brilliance casting multicolored radiance visible even from afar. Even the skies above the city glowed in rainbow hues, dazzling, resplendent, and brimming with the joy of celebration. The Daogu Imperial Venerable placed immense importance on this ceremony. The entire Dao Ancient lineage regarded it as a momentous event. For the Daogu Empress to be formally enthroned, every Daogu clansman's gaze turned toward the Imperial City. Countless powerful clansmen and regional lords rushed from afar, determined to witness this great ceremony of the Dao Ancient lineage with their own eyes. Envoys of the extreme ancient bloodline and the primordial ancient bloodline arrived one after another, bearing gifts to honor the occasion. The delegation of the primordial ancient bloodline, especially, brought lavish tributes. Leading them was Crown Prince Jidu. Years ago, he had personally accompanied the envoy that selected Zhongji. His presence here was no surprise. What's more, because the new empress bore the surname Song, descended from a branch line of the heavenly venerable Song Tian of the primordial ancient bloodline, that same grand heavenly venerable dispatched envoys, bearing his own congratulatory gifts. The flood of visitors made the imperial city swell with vitality. Voices filled the air like a roaring tide. In response, the Dao-Ancient lineage fortified defenses, determined to prevent even the slightest mishap during the ceremony. Now, the imperial palace was under the heaviest of guards. Nearly every powerful figure of the Dao-Ancient lineage had gathered there. Even the lords and nobles bearing imperial bloodlines spread across the realm returned, lending the city an even grander splendor. This was no small matter, it was a defining event for the Gu clan. One of the three emperors was enthroning his consort. Across the land, where imperial authority reigned supreme, none were ignorant of it. Even Ancient Path Mountain sent a gift, focusing the attention of all three ancient clans upon the Dao Gu Imperial Venerable. As the days dwindled, the number of arrivals swelled beyond measure. To accommodate them, the Dao-Ancient lineage revealed a treasured artifact of their clan, transforming it into 99 colossal platforms, each only slightly smaller than the imperial city itself, spreading outward with Sky City at their heart. On each platform, abodes were swiftly constructed by cultivators of great strength, housing the countless guests who had gathered. Wang Lin, however, ignored all of it. Immersed in cultivation, he paid no mind to the bustle. On the night with only 3 days left until the ceremony, the imperial city shimmered in a sea of five-colored light. Lanterns blazed, voices rang with celebration, and even the 99 platforms thrummed with life. So many clansmen from the three ancient clans had come that entire marketplaces sprang up. During the wait, they traded goods, exchanged treasures, and held impromptu auctions. Within the Daogu Imperial Palace, joy was equally boundless. From the highest pavilion, the Daogu Imperial Venerable stood with his hands clasped behind his back, gazing upon the resplendent city below. A faint smile curved his lips. From this day forth, wherever I rule shall forever shine as it does during this grand ceremony. Standing as the very center of the Gu clan, he declared slowly. Your Majesty possesses extraordinary talent and strategy. One day you will achieve your wish. We are willing to follow you, to stand behind you and witness that day. In the loft, besides the Dao Gu Imperial Venerable, 7 others knelt on one knee. They spoke in unison, their faces alight with fanaticism. How are the preparations? The Dao Gu Imperial Venerable asked with a faint smile. The delegations from the primordial and the extreme ancient lines have been arranged, and the envoys from the 2 grand heavenly venerables have been received. As for the gifts from Ancient Path Mountain, I respectfully lodged the envoy within the imperial city. One of them answered immediately. Our clan members and the strong figures from the other 2 clans have been dispersed among the 99 platforms around the area. There are many of them, but there's room enough. The second hurried to add. I've overseen the grand ceremony's arrangements throughout. I can guarantee its smooth and complete execution, rest assured, Your Majesty. For security, the 108 forbidden guards and the troops from the 1st through 7th armies will maintain strict vigilance during the grand ceremony. There will not be the slightest accident. The National Master sent word, he will attend the grand ceremony in person. Empress Song remains as before, she never leaves, always seeming lost in memories. Each time she thinks, she is in great pain and seems to recall nothing. The Grand Heavenly Venerables have not yet replied. I do not know whether they will attend the grand ceremony. One by one the 7 spoke, then bowed their heads, waiting for orders from the supreme figure of the Dao-Ancient lineage before them. According to protocol, the grand ceremony will last 99 days. Apart from the first day's ancestral rites, I will not participate in the remainder. If anything at all goes wrong during this period, you will be executed. The man in the imperial robe spoke slowly. The 7 immediately replied with respectful assent. The grand ceremony begins in 3 days. On the night before it opens, my Dao-Ancient line, every ancient emperor in our lineage, will hold an empress enthronement celebration, so that our Dao-Ancient clansmen and the envoys from other nations may behold the empress. How have you arranged this? Everything has been arranged. One of the 7 answered respectfully. Good. A smile crossed the man in the imperial robe's face, and a hint of anticipation showed. He flicked his wide sleeve and vanished from the loft. I married her and gave her the title of empress, that is the greatest reward. National Master, I look forward to the result of your divinations." At the same time, somewhere else in the palace, in a quiet chamber, a woman clothed in a phoenix robe sat before a mirror. She wasn't peerlessly beautiful, but carried an indescribable aura. Staring at her reflection, she looked bewildered. "I can't remember anything, everything from the dream blurred after I woke. I can't recall how the woman in the dream looked, can't remember the man's face, only his 2 lines." She closed her eyes as those 2 voice echoes, words that seemed to tear the sky and make the world tremble, replayed in her mind. "Come, I'll take you to kill. Heaven wanted you dead, I'll snatch you back." Tears flowed from the closed eyes of the woman in the mirror. 2 streams ran down her cheeks, soaking the garments beneath. "Why am I crying? Who is he? Who am I? Am I Songji? Am I Songji?" She opened her eyes, bewilderment deepening. Wang Lin did not know any of this, he could not sense her tears or her aura despite his transcendent cultivation. Even if he had been standing before her, he might still have been unable to tell who she was, because a mist veiled the woman's residual soul, hiding everything. After this woman merged with Songji, that fog had thickened. He did not know that the Xun'er soul he had been searching for was actually so close, so near. She, too, did not know. The names in her confusion, hers, his, were all being breathed under the same sky, drawing the same spiritual chi. On the morning one day before the grand ceremony, Wang Lin opened his eyes from cultivation beneath the earth. Confusion flashed across his face, a 6th divine vein had appeared within him. What puzzled him more, however, was a sudden flutter in his mind, an inexplicable tremor that startled him. After a moment of silence, Wang Lin rose and stepped out of the underground cave mansion, emerging into the wooden cabin. The golden mist formed faintly into a humanoid shape and began coalescing into a true form. "It's taking longer than I expected." Wang Lin sat cross-legged, watching the golden mist and tamping down the tremor in his heart. By sunset, he looked up, opened his mouth, and swallowed. He absorbed the 5 elements avatar and the golden mist into his body, then pushed open the door. In the sunset, Xian Luo stood there, smiling at Wang Lin. "You've been in seclusion for 3 months. Tomorrow's empress enthronement ceremony, you may skip, but tonight, the night banquet celebration of the Ancient lineage, you'll attend in my stead. I know you dislike noisy crowds, so just make a brief appearance and then return." Wang Lin hesitated. He truly had no desire to attend such a celebration, but since his master had asked, he nodded in agreement. "Take this gift to Yi Dao. Consider it my congratulatory present to him." With a faint smile, Xian Luo reached into the void and pulled forth a gift box, handing it to Wang Lin. Accepting it without a glance, Wang Lin stored it away, cupped his fists in salute, and transformed into a streak of rainbow light. After pausing briefly in midair, he shot off toward the Daogu Imperial Palace. "Once the gift is delivered, I'll leave immediately and continue cultivating. The condensation of the metal origin is imminent, nothing is more important than this." Wang Lin made up his mind. Yet, at the very moment the thought surfaced, his heart gave an involuntary tremor. Frowning, he cast a look toward the distant palace. That night banquet would mark the first public appearance of the newly enthroned Daogu Empress, standing beside the Daogu Imperial Venerable. After receiving the blessings of all present, she would depart, while the Imperial Venerable himself would remain until the banquet ended, proceeding directly into the grand ceremony. The venue was the vast square before the main hall of the Imperial Palace. Under the setting sun, countless palace attendants had arranged thousands of green pine tables, stretching densely across the square. Viewed from afar, their number seemed endless, arrayed in a fan shape, as though bowing toward the great hall. Above the palace sky floated hundreds of smaller platforms. Each was likewise filled with tables, set to host the guests arriving for the occasion. As the hour approached, the palace resounded with the rolling thunder of drums. The sound shook the heavens, rising in waves. At the very heart of the palace stood a colossal giant drum, hundreds of feet across, forged of some unknown beast hide. It radiated both an ancient desolation and a savage, ominous aura. Hovering above the drum were 9 figures clad in black. Each one possessed cultivation no weaker than a heavenly supreme. At every thunderous beat, the 9 acted in unison, their combined force shaping a massive phantom palm in the air, striking the great drum with earth-shaking power. The booming echoes spread across the palace, rippling outward like waves until they encompassed the entirety of Sky City, even reaching the thousands of platforms beyond its walls, ensuring that every Gu clansman present could hear. At intervals, the roars of the drum erupted once more, reverberating into countless echoes, continuing for a long while. Whenever the sound began to fade, a fresh strike would resound, surging once again into the 9 heavens. With the third booming strike, streams of people emerged from within the palace, gathering in dense throngs that seemed unending. Though not at the level of the Heavenly Supreme, each was no less formidable than a cultivator of the third step. Under the rhythm of the drums, these powerful guests took their seats at the arranged tables, exchanging smiles and quiet conversation. The square buzzed with energy, filling with the clamor of festivity. When the 5th drumbeat shook the air, streaks of rainbow light streaked across the sky, announcing the arrival of yet more clansmen. Some hailed from the Dao-Ancient lineage, others from the 2 remaining bloodlines. Many descended to the square's tables, while others claimed seats upon the floating platforms above. The crowd swelled. By the 7th drumbeat, the sunset sky was crisscrossed with thousands of rainbow streaks, so numerous they seemed to fracture the heavens themselves. Each streak transformed into a clansman, taking their place among the gathering. Then, in a sudden blaze, 108 radiant beams streaked in from the distant horizon. In the blink of an eye, they resolved into 108 Daogu clan members clad in white armor. Landing before the great hall of the palace, they bowed as one, then moved to the foremost tables, sitting cross-legged with calm expressions. The 108 forbidden guards of the Dao-Ancient lineage. The Dao-Ancient lineage is divided into the ranks of Forbidden, Saint, Fiend, King, and the Immortal Generals. Now that the Forbidden Guards are here, the others will surely follow. It's said every one of the 108 Forbidden Guards is steeped in slaughter, their bodies saturated with killing intent, that is why they were sealed as the Forbidden. Though spoken softly, the murmurs could not drown out the roar of the drums. Gazes swept over the armored figures, some filled with envy, others with shadowed thoughts, and still others with wary scrutiny. No sooner had the Forbidden Guards appeared than 72 whirlwinds rose from the distant land beyond the palace. Each whirlwind carried a figure within, and together they surged toward the grand square. A surge of overwhelming pressure suddenly descended, blanketing the imperial palace inside and out. At the same time, 72 whirlwinds arrived. Within them were men and women, young and old, yet without exception they all carried the aura of gods, demons, and sacred beings. Looking closer, each of their eyes and foreheads bore the mark of 27 stars. The 72 saints. The very ones who once rendered glorious service to the Dao-Ancient lineage. I've long heard that the Dao-Ancient lineage's 72 saint bloodlines have always remained exactly 72 in number, no more and no less. These 72 families have passed down the legacy, guarding Dao-Ancient for countless ages. As the voices of discussion rose, a thunderous sound spread through the air. It was the 8th beat of the giant drum. With its echoing reverberations, the earth trembled as though ancient dragons rolled beneath it. Then, in the blood-red glow of the sunset sky, 36 crimson rainbows abruptly descended, staining the heavens scarlet and blotting out the sun itself. The 36 rods. Yes, the famed 36 rods of the Dao-Ancient lineage. They are the personal guards of the imperial bloodline, forged from the lineage's full resources and power to create 36 peerless warriors for every generation of the imperial venerable. I've heard they are like death-sworn warriors. At a single command from the Daogu imperial venerable, they can self-detonate. 36 rods? Ha, these are clearly 36 fiends. Out of the crimson brilliance strode 36 towering men, their bodies shrouded in blood mist that concealed their faces. After stepping forth, they bowed toward the main hall, then descended upon the plaza, seating themselves before the 72 saints. The drumbeat continued to echo. Yet after the 36 sat down, the heavens erupted with a roar so loud it drowned out the drum, silencing even the tens of thousands whispering below. All eyes were drawn upward, where suddenly 18 vast rifts tore open in the sky, ripped apart by 18 colossal black and red claws. Ear-splitting roars followed, and from those rifts burst forth 18 black and red dragons. Their demonic aura was terrifying. These were demon dragons, infused with the breath of the ancient demons. Their 18 pairs of silver eyes glowed with endless demonic might, rendering their visages fierce and monstrous. As they emerged, they immediately circled the sky, weaving together into a massive vortex. The 18 Daogu Kings. That's right. These are the demon dragon mounts of the 18 kings. Their appearance means the 18 kings themselves must be arriving. Second only to the Daogu Imperial Venerable, these 18 kings belong to the Imperial bloodline. Each one wields immense power. It's said that 12 of them are forbidden to return to the capital under normal times, instead stationed in the outer 12 provinces as guardians. The crowd erupted in a storm of voices as the demon dragons appeared. Far away, still some distance from the Imperial Palace, Wang Lin stood watching with sharp eyes. The appearance of the 18 demon dragons stirred the very chi of heaven and earth. When they spun together into a vortex, it became a storm that even blocked the focus of divine sense. The 18 Daogu Kings. I wonder if Emo, in those years, was once among them. Perhaps at this night banquet, I will find out. Wang Lin rubbed his chin. Since entering the Dao-Ancient lineage, he had not lingered long. Now, after 3 months in seclusion, he had not yet sought out Emo's descendants. Yet this matter never left his heart. Pondering quietly as the 8th drumbeat's echo lingered in his ears, Wang Lin advanced toward the Imperial Palace. The nearer he drew, the stronger that inexplicable sense of unease welled up within him. It wasn't the feeling of danger, but rather a premonition too subtle to name. With his cultivation, Wang Lin could already sense, ahead of time, matters tied to his own fate. Yet no matter how he considered it, he could not fathom what event would unfold at this night banquet in the palace. As Wang Lin walked forward, frowning, the 18 demon dragons spiraled down from the heavens, descending to the plaza before the Daogu Imperial Palace. Looking closely, one could see a figure standing proudly upon each dragon's head. 18 in total, their faces all distinct, yet sharing faint similarities. Each wore robes adorned with coiling serpents, their bearing filled with dignity. With a sway of their bodies, they stepped down from their demon dragons and took seats at the green pine tables nearest the main hall. As they sat, the demon dragons roared once more, plunging back into the rifts in the sky. The rifts closed, and the scarlet glow faded, revealing the sunset once again, as if nothing had changed. And then, the 9th beat of the giant drum boomed across heaven and earth. Merging with the echoes of the previous 8, it became a single, unparalleled thunderclap. Its sound could have shattered cultivators outright, and even the bodies of the Gu clan would normally suffer under its force. Yet strangely, though everyone heard it, not a single person was harmed. Wang Lin stepped forward. As the 9th strike of the giant drum echoed, he rose into the skies above the Imperial Palace. Sweeping his gaze across the scene, his eyes suddenly lifted toward the heavens, his pupils narrowing slightly. From above, 9 streaks of black light tore down without warning. Each beam looked like a colossal pillar, as if propping up the heavens themselves to prevent collapse. As they descended, waves of darkness rippled outward. In the blink of an eye, the 9 streaks landed and transformed into 9 towering men clad in black armor. A heavy aura of slaughter surged from their bodies. Around them, faint traces of countless vengeful souls coiled and twisted. They did not bow toward the main hall. Instead, after exchanging glances, they strode to the 9 green pine tables set before the 18 princes. And beyond them, for more tables stood waiting. The immortal generals. They must be from the Daogu clan, the 9 immortal generals. 9 transcendent heavenly venerables, each on par with immortal clan cultivators who have crossed the 13 layers of heavenly venerable ascension. One among them even radiates fluctuations akin to breaking through the 14th layer. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze and continued forward. With the thunderous 9th drumbeat beneath his steps, he walked steadily toward the foremost position. His appearance instantly drew the eyes of everyone present.